What's up, Internet? Welcome to part 2 of a 13-part series of installing the power windows in my Milehighkei. Here I'm using a punch to further accentuate the areas where I need to drill out holes for the mounts for the actual motor for the power windows to attach to. I believe I used a 5.5 millimeter drill bit. I sized this up a full millimeter later because I needed a little bit of extra wiggle room because things weren't lining up, and I will let you know when that happens. Now I'm just making sure that all the holes line up and kind of eyeballing where I want to drill the hole for the wiring harness to go through. I think the hole saw that I used was 1 1/8 inches. Not sure on that, but it allowed for the connector on the end of the wiring harness to fit through, so it'll work for what we're doing. And yeah, this is a pretty big hole, and this is a point of no return. You can't really cover up any of these holes if you don't decide to go with power windows, so yeah. Now that I got that big hole drilled, just making sure everything fits through and that the holes line up. Luckily they did, and now I can start to put on the 3 little brackets that actually hold the motor to the door card. Looking back on it now, I wish I made these holes a little bit bigger to give me a little bit more wiggle room, but I learned that lesson very shortly. These are held on with 8 millimeter nuts. And they have little lock washers that go under them too, so make sure that you don't lose those when you try to put this on. One of the brackets just has one little nut here, and it spans over this little ridge on the back of the door card. Just thought that might be a good little thing to point out. Now that I have the motor attached to the door card, I wanted to do a test fit just to make sure that everything aligned up correctly. If you're struggling to get the door card on like I am here, quick tip is to get the front part of the door card in the channel first, and then use a little screwdriver to push the weather stripping past the metal part on the top of the door. It gets hung up near the lock, but if you push in the weather stripping, it should slide down with no issues. Here I'm realizing that the motor isn't lining up with the splines that normally hold the door handle. So I have to loosen up the 5 nuts that hold the motor to the door card, and then I can line up the splines with the motor a bit more easily. This is where making the mounting holes for the motor a little bigger come in handy, so you have a little bit more play and you can line up everything to make sure that everything lines up with what it's supposed to. Now I wanted to test fit the cover that goes over the motor. Just make sure that it looks okay. Make sure it's not super crooked and it lines up with the other lines on the door card. But pretty happy with this little burst of productivity I had, and it's all done. Just kidding. I have to take it all apart and finish all the wiring, but looks good for now. Thanks for watching.